All right, we are live.
Good morning, everybody. This is the regular meeting of the State Board of Elections for December 19th, 2023. It's 10:04 a.m. and so I'm calling this meeting to order. I'll start with a call of the roll. First, members who are present on the premises.
Sue Carol Perry.
And then I'll call on you as I see you in order on the big screen here. Member Skolnick.
Corey Skolnick, member Jefferson County.
Member Sears.
Dwight Sears, member Pulaski County.
Member Johnson.
Jerry Johnson, member Franklin County.
Member Chandler.
Ben Chandler, member Woodford County.
Member Brangers.
Deanna Brangers, member Jefferson County.
And I'm Michael Adams, Secretary of State and Chair of the Board. And so we have a quorum and we'll proceed to our business. First, read and approve draft minutes of our November 7th and November 21st meetings. Do we have any edits? I have one on, I think it's page 3. They're not numbered. Let me see. The third page for November 7th. Under next scheduled meeting, Chairman Adams' tentative set should be tentatively. We could correct that, but that's all I saw. Any other changes? Motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have nomination of presidential primary candidates pursuant to KRS 118.581. This is a new law. It was just implemented in 2019 for the 2020 presidential election. So this statute says that this board convenes the third Tuesday in December before a presidential preference primary. We nominate for the primary ourselves. We nominate for the primary ballot all those candidates for president of the two major parties who qualified for federal matching funds. And then the board approves those and sends a list to me to put folks on the ballot, and we alert the news media. Karen, do we have that information?
Yes, Mr. Secretary, and I'm going to pass to Taylor to
Okay.
provide the information needed.
Thank you.
You're right. That was a good rundown of the statute, Mr. Secretary. And so where it says we have to find out who has qualified for matching federal campaign funds, we reached out to Camilla Rominsky. She's the acting supervisory auditor and PECF manager in the audit division of the Federal Election Commission, and then also Amanda Grandjean, who's the general counsel for the FEC chair, Sean Cooksey. And according to them, there are no presidential candidates who have been certified as eligible to receive the primary matching payments. And there's also no publicly available list from the FEC of candidates who may currently qualify, which is the one our statute uses, but who have yet to be certified. So just given that difference in the language that the feds use versus what our statute uses with qualified and certified, back in 2019, that was the last presidential. There was a unanimous vote by the board that any candidate who may later be deemed to be qualified would be retroactively approved. So that was my suggestion today for a similar motion, that if we find using our language later on that anybody was qualified, that they would be retroactively approved.
I think that's a good idea. I looked at the history of this, and it looks like this law was just passed for 2020, and in 2020 the FEC lacked a quorum and couldn't certify any funds for anybody. So much ado about nothing. My office also called the FEC, and we got similar information. So it kind of is what it is. But I think the way we've done this in the past is probably the best answer. Would anyone like to put that in the form of a motion? Or to move what Taylor just said?
So move. Taylor said.
Makes it easy, right?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, financial reports. Would you all like to table those until our January meeting? I don't think we have Rachel with us today. Is that right, Karen?
That's correct. And I do want to say that I did send the reports out in a separate email that you all probably received. And she did kind of outline October and November, some things that she thought, you might want to know specifically about those. And we can wait and approve those at the January meeting. But I did want to say that she did want everyone to know she sent this out. Please follow up with questions if you have any questions prior to the January meeting, and then we can have those moved for approval. So if you have questions, please hold them for Rachel and not. She does a good job of answering those. But was there anything about the email that you had any questions about from her?
Not from me. Is everyone good to skip this and come back to it in January?
Do we need a motion to table? If so, I'll move. So moved.
Do we? I think we can just skip it.
And then approve October, November with the December financials in January.
Okay.
That be your preference?
Yeah, we'll just do them all at once, I think. Does that work for everybody? Okay. All right, well, good. Number 5, KCCA, we have our new president of the Coastal Association, Tabitha Clemens of Grant County. Welcome, Tabitha. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Secretary. First, I want to congratulate you on your reelection, and we're looking forward to 4 more years of working together with you and your staff. So we greatly appreciate what you've been able to accomplish thus far. I want to take this opportunity to thank the staff of the State Board of Elections for the robust training that they provided to the County Clerks Association at our fall conference. It was refreshing to hear from other election officials in other parts of the United States, and to know that some of them have been going through some of the similar things that we have, and then also the tools and resources that are now going to be available to us to ensure that we're fine-tuning the election process that we have here in Kentucky. And from the county clerk's perspective, this last general election was very successful. We had a lot of good feedback, not only from our constituents, but from elected officials throughout the Commonwealth. So we're really grateful for the opportunity to highlight that this morning during this meeting. And then lastly, as the legislative session nears, we always welcome the opportunity to sit down at the table with all the parties who are involved in elections and have conversations leading up to the process that we'll see in this long session over the next several months to ensure that we're doing everything we can to continually improve the processes that we have for our elections here in Kentucky. And we greatly appreciate the Secretary's support over bills that we've worked on, and the state board as well over the last several years. So it's been great to see elections evolve here in Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. I agree with that, all that 100%. Any questions or any comments from the members? Okay. Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you very much.
Number 6, Executive Director. Karen, do you have anything for us?
Well, I thought what I would do is just a quick review of some of the things that have happened in 23 that SBE has, been able to accomplish or has ongoing. One thing I was going to mention, the first thing was working with KCCA and trying to provide, we go every month to their trainings, and we tried to reach out and get new things as we did in December. I think we're very, very informative. We work with all the clerks daily, giving guidance where we can. We try to return their phone calls. It's just, I think it's a good working relationship that we have with the KCCA right now. This year, we also did something different. We developed training videos and quick guides for some of the new services that we had or we're upgrading. For instance, the absentee portal, we did a modification and we did a training video and a quick guide as well as with the E&R process. And I think that goes a long way to help the clerks because not everyone is always available at the meetings, on Zoom, and often it's their deputies that need to be a part of the trainings and aren't always available. So our IT team has done a very good job of doing training videos, so I'm very proud of that. January, we had the risk limiting audit, which we reported there. In February, we removed approximately 127,000 ineligible registrations. That's the first time that NVRA purge has happened since 2015. Now, this removal of these 127,000 approximately is outside of our monthly removals that's done by statute, that SBE does by statute. One of the things we did, and I should have sent this out to the board, is we rebranded and refreshed our list maintenance link on the website elect.ky.gov. With this process, we have done more transparency, just trying to provide the public with more information about the internal process of purgation. It seems to be something that's very, it's become a nationwide process that people have begun to talk about. And we branded it as saying our Kentucky election integrity process, KEEP. And so I'll get that link out to everyone. Also this year we had 8D2 and 8C1 mailers that are mailers we do based on the NVRA process to identify voters registration. We received well over 100,000 cards undeliverable back to us. We were able to get those scanned and processed. Our IT team worked very hard to get that done, and that's a huge piece as we work toward the next purgation under this law. Of course, May was an important primary in Kentucky, and as many remember, in December we had to certify new e-poll books. So come January, the Clerks Association had to implement all new e-poll books. SBE did an RFP process that helped speed their purchase along and to ensure consistency in pricing with each vendor that we had. I think that went very well. It was a little stressful, I know, for the clerks, and we tried to make it as easy as possible, but I think the May primary proved they can come together and do whatever they need to do because they had all of their poll workers trained on 3 new e-poll book vendors. So I think it was very successful. Along with that, our IT team worked very closely with the new vendors to ensure that reporting was done with consistency, and that the voter information was transmitted securely to the clerks. And so I want to thank the vendors for their weekly participation with SBE so we can make sure all of that carried through in May. And again, the same process we did in the November election. We also submitted the 2022 EVES report in February and March with drafts, and that is a significant data collection on behalf of the clerks and SBE, but we successfully and timely got that submitted. SBE did a new election officers guide. We update that every election, so we had that done for the primary and the general. We also submitted, Rachel worked very hard to get our biennium budget submitted for 25 and 26, and she continued the process that I believe we mentioned in the past, that our budgets were trying to pull back from the use of federal funds and move to general funds because that hadn't really been done until the last biennium budget. So we're continuing that process. Of course, this year, one of the things that went on was SBE and the Department of Local Government were authorized to use House Bill 1 funds and distribute those funds in fiscal year 23 and 24 to 120 counties for new election equipment. SBE developed a criteria. We worked with the county clerks, so it was 12.5 million in FY23, 12.5 million in FY24. We distributed all 12.5 million in FY23, which included 10.5 million for all 120 counties to get new e-poll books. Working with the fiscal court, we're also looking to complete the 12.5 million distribution in FY24. And so far, working with DLG, 205 contracts for e-poll books and election equipment purchases have been executed, totaling $20,358,723. So that was huge for the counties to get this funding for this, and I think the process worked very well for them. We still have a little bit left to distribute, but that will come here quickly. We also had about 9 counties that had not accessed the 2,500 per precinct that State Board of Elections had approved back in December of 21. And so those counties purchased equipment this year. So not only did they get the benefit of the House Bill 1 funds, we went back and had them collect the 2,500 per precinct that other counties had been able to access when they bought new equipment. And these were some counties that were a little bit later getting through their fiscal court to purchase equipment. We've had a few grants. We had the 2022 security grant. We purchased 366 Cradle Point devices delivered to 39 counties. And again, these devices enable additional connectivity in areas where it could be problematic. We also have an Office of Homeland Security grant for $145,425 that was secured, and we are using that to purchase security cards. And these funds will pass through Davis County. That was brought up at a previous meeting. So once that's done, we'll be able to procure those items and get those to the counties. Then we also have another local cybersecurity grant for $233,924. And we are using this to purchase portable communication devices called plum cases for the counties. These plum cases were purchased during 2020 by Emergency Management, and they are an even more enhanced connectivity. We have so many places in rural parts of the state that have no connectivity at some of their polling sites, or it's very problematic. So these plum cases will make a significant difference, and we're using those funds to purchase those. Rachel went to the Office of Budget, State Budget Director, and they are going to work with us. Typically, you have to wait on those funds to come through, but we wanted them to have them access for the 24 primary. So fortunately, they're working with us, and we're going to be able to purchase those and get that money passed through a little bit later, but we can pay in advance for the plum cases, and that will expedite the process for the counties to get those in their hands by the May presidential primary. So we're happy about that. And appreciate Rachel's reaching out and trying to make that happen this year. SBE, we were asked to present at several legislative committees this year, which we were glad to do. Taylor's written numerous admin regs, which the board's approved, and he would have to present to the Administrative Regulations Review Subcommittee, which he did very well. Our IT team has rolled out new security and networking to continue as we enhance in-house services and make sure that we are well prepared secure-wise. I do want to add on our help desk that this is something we've never really reported on, but in 2023, and I have said this before, our help desk is monitored by the IT team. They document incoming calls and emails and follow up. And as of July, they started tracking it by category. Is it a clerk? Is it a voter? Are they calling about absentee ballot? I mean, they just have got a list of tracking how the questions are coming about. But this year they had, they answered or responded to 4,446 emails and 1,244 phone calls, totaling 5,690. And a lot of these calls were related to VRS, the online voter registration, the absentee portal, came both from clerks and from the voters that call in that may be having trouble accessing the online portal and how can they do that. So I'm really proud that they really make an effort to make sure they return these calls, and I appreciate that it's getting documented because that's going to help us in the future of where areas we may need to provide more outside education and information about the processes. And I think I said this before, but I'm going to congratulate Taylor again this year. He worked very hard to earn the Certified Election Registration Administrator certification. And this program is really the only continuing education that specializes in voter registration and elections. And what is good about this is it has actually opened up a vast opportunity to continue education and networking and collaborations with all of SBE staff, you know, maybe possibly the clerks association, Secretary of State's office. It's just a really good opportunity to learn more about elections. So proud of Taylor for getting through that process. And I appreciate Tabitha mentioning about December 1st. We were real proud to be able to bring those people from other states to the KCCA. Lastly, I'll mention reapportionment. We are still in the process of reapportionment. We working with the county starting back in March. We had a mandatory training about reapportionment process, precinct establishment orders, documentation for submission. Richard and Sheila is working closely with Richard to continue that work on precinct modifications and get that reapportionment done. The one thing that we're doing this year, which I think is really good, and I think the counties have found it to be helpful, we've asked them to reach out to their area development districts because many of the counties don't have GIS, you know, in their offices or opportunities. And so I think the area development districts have worked very closely with the Clerks Association or county clerks if they didn't have GIS. And so now we are having all the GIS precinct shape files not only sent to LRC, but we're also getting a copy of those as well. So, and thanks to Sheila for being on board to help Richard as we try to get this process done. So I know I kind of took a little bit of time, didn't mean to take so much time, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that the SBE administrative staff we're relentless in trying to make sure that election integrity is just the top of our list and protecting the voting process. And we always want to be a trusted source for election information. And I hope that the public will understand that we can be that for them. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm concluded.
Thank you, Karen. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Karen?
I would like to make a comment. Being a retired county clerk, I know how valuable Karen and her staff and Taylor and Sheila. I mean, I know I've been away for almost a year now, but I can still remember all the phone calls, and they were always just I know we probably asked them stupid questions sometimes, but they always had an answer and never looked down on us. And when we had new employees, sometimes they would say, I couldn't find you, so I called state board. And it was something, you know, but anyway, they do a great job. They really do. And I appreciate how well you all treated me when I was a clerk, and I know you treat all county clerks the same. So thank you much. Well, thank you, Secretary.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we just have a couple things left. One is to confirm our next meeting date will be January 16th, third Tuesday of the month, 2024. That's the day after Martin Luther King Day, 10 a.m. usual time and place. I'm going to reverse a couple of these on the agenda. First, other business. Do we have any other business before the board? I understand we need to have an executive session, but is there any other business we need to address today? If not, I think we'll just go into the closed session. We'll come back out and we'll adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, Taylor has a couple of things he wants to bring up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got one thing real quick, Mr. Secretary, if that's okay. KRS 117.0253I is the statute that requires the board to provide voter registration lists to duly qualified candidates, political parties, and committees advocating or opposing constitutional amendments or public questions. That same statute also gives the board the ability to, quote, furnish the precinct list to other persons at the board's discretion, end quote. So in January of 2020, the board gave the SBE staff the power to interpret the discretion provision of that statute. And that was when Jared Deering was the executive director. There was no assistant director. So that was a month away from four years ago. So now with Karen being executive director, Richard being assistant director, and us as a whole heading into the 24 presidential cycle, I thought it'd be maybe wise to ask for a similar motion to be made today that would authorize SB staff again to use discretion in providing the registration lists to those that are not statutorily authorized.
Can I ask the members, do you all want to vote on these requests, or are you happy with just the staff making those decisions? Actually, probably very few of you have ever voted on one of these, I think, because there's been so much turnover on the board. But Member Chandler, I think, will remember years ago on the board, we actually took every single one of these up, and we would actually have debate sometimes on whether to give this group or that group cell access to the list. We actually took up a lot of time with those. And so the last 4 years, we haven't done that. I don't really have a view on it. Whatever the members prefer is how we'll do it. I kind of think we're fine as we are, but if you all want to vote on them, by all means. Member Johnson.
I'm perfectly fine with letting staff continue to do what they've been doing. I've got confidence in them and doing what they need to do. So it's not necessary from my position that they be brought to the board. So,
Yeah,
Mr. Secretary, of course, I do remember we had really quite a number of lengthy debates about these things. And ultimately, we decided to delegate that responsibility to the staff. And over the last several years, since it's been delegated, I'm not aware of any problem that we've had as a result of that delegation. So based on the fact that it's been handled, I think, very well by the staff, I would suggest that we just carry on as we've been doing for the last 4 years.
Does anyone disagree with that?
I agree as well. I remember some of those meetings were well over 2 hours.
Yeah, my first tour of duty on the board as a voting member, I think there's only two things that we ever split on party lines, and one was this, and then there was a personnel matter. But these became pretty lively debates, and I think we're kind of much ado about nothing. Well, if a member would like to propose a similar motion,
I'll make that motion, Mr. Secretary.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, did you have something else, Taylor?
I did, Mr. Secretary. Thank you. And thank you to the board as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other business before the board today? Hearing none, Taylor, are we discussing both litigation and security?
The executive session would be just related to pending litigation, Mr. Secretary.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to ask for a motion pursuant to KRS 61.8101C to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So members are going to go into our executive session, and when we come out and go back on the record, all we'll do is vote to adjourn. That's all we have left.